All right, class, this is the last grader assignment that we will work on together. This is Access Level 1, Chapter 4. In this final Access grader assignment that we will complete, we will focus on reports. So this is the final and fourth pillar of the Access software. First, we dealt with tables, then queries, then forms, and now last we'll do the reports. You'll notice that we will draw our knowledge from the prior chapters and we'll put it all together and we will generate a nice looking report, actually a couple different reports. So by now, hopefully you've downloaded from MyITlab the fourth grader assignment from chapter 4, the one with the orange clipboard. And you should have the 3 files, one being instructions. Then you should have the database file itself, which I have open here in front of us. And lastly, that little logo image that we used in the 3rd chapter. So the very same image, just a different title to the file name. Once you have those 3 files, then we can quickly go through this and make sure that you're comfortable with the material before our final test. I'm going to move on to step number 2. It says use the blank report tool to create a report. Add the following fields in this order. So here we go. What we got to do, as we did for forms, is we got to go to create. Click on create. And what it wants us to do is use the blank report tool. So be careful. There are multiple tools available to us. We will deal with labels. We will likely deal with Report Wizard. But this one is very clear. It says blank report. So do not miss that in the instructions or you will run into trouble. So I'm going to click blank report. And what it's asking me to do now is it's asking me to select the following fields. Now you have to be careful. Now I know this assignment is not going to be a big deal. But I know when you do the other 2 on your own, the 2 white clipboards, you need to be careful where you pull the fields from. In this case, it's not a big deal. I'm going to go to the right side here and I go show all tables. And in this example, in this exercise, we've got a parcels table and zones table. Now these 2 tables are the same tables that you see on your left-hand side of the screen, but it breaks it out for you so you can see the fields. What I normally recommend is if it asks you for a field that is located in both tables, then what you'd probably want to do 9 times out of 10 is you want to pick the field that is the primary key. And I don't need to explain to you what the primary key is. We know this from the first chapter of Access. So it doesn't show you any keys, but you should know which one that would be. All right, so back to the question here. It says add the owner. So double click. And then it says to value. So what happens is when you start picking stuff, the tables will move around and kind of freak you out a little bit. Just double check them, make sure you're not missing anything. But we're starting with parcels. So we go owner, then value. From there it says assessed. And then zone. And zone is not here. So it's in the second one, zone. Perfect. So what we have here, and I'm just going to verify, I've got owner, value, assessed, and zone. There are 4 different fields here. We've got them 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're in the perfect order. Once I've done that, it says save the report as assessments. Now watch your spelling. I say it all the time. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to type in assessments. It's easy to miss a letter. It really is, and you don't want to lose marks for it. It's just, a bad way to lose marks. So I'm going to click OK. It says not to close it, still leave it open. Perfect. It says in the assessments report, apply the organic theme and then add a title with the text called assessments by quarter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my themes at the top here and I'm going to look for organic. Now people are like, well, how do I know? Well, you hover. Don't be shy. You go over the stuff here and it'll show you. I know organic is here. So I'm going to choose organic. And then I need to insert a title at the top. So this is the second part of the question. So I'm going to go to here under the design tab. It says title. I'm going to click title, and I'm going to change the title Assessments by, and watch your capitals. See, I put a capital I shouldn't have. Assessments by quarter. Move the mouse out of the way. Assessments by quarter. Perfect. Spelt it great. Looks good. Fantastic. No issues there. Still, in the same report now, notice how it hasn't told us to close it. Always keeping an eye on that. It says, in the assessments report, group the report by the assessed field and then sort each group by the assessed date from oldest to newest for the yearly quarter labels. And then it says auto size the control height. Wow, we went from just applying a theme for 8 marks to doing multiple steps for the same amount of marks. So we need to be very, very careful here. It's not complicated, but let's do a good job on it. So what we got to do is we got to go up here, again, Design tab. Lots happening here. We're going to go to Group and Sort. When I click Group and Sort, it's going to open up at the very bottom the abilities to add a sort, and add a group and add a sort. So the first thing it wants us to do is add a group. So we go add a group, and it says, well, which field? Well, we want to do it based on assessed. So we click assessed. Perfect. And then that's grouped. But where people missed things in class, they missed the second part of this and they lost marks, and they were, a little bit upset. But they missed the sort each group by. So we got to go add the sort. And it says assessed again. And we need to make sure it is oldest to newest. So first we got group, then we got sort, oldest to newest. At that point, it says to auto size the control height. Okay, so auto size the control height. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the group and sort because we do not want to see this. Okay, so we're going to go group and sort. Okay. Now for the yearly labels, the quarterly labels, these ones here, Q1, Q2, that's what they're referring to about auto size the height. In order to do that, you got to click on it. Make sure you've got this appearing. Notice this is the 4 pointing arrows, the confused one from Excel that we talked about, and this one here. So by double clicking, it's going to auto adjust the height of that control. A lot of students missed marks on that too because it doesn't look like it's making much of an adjustment, but that's what we need to do. We're still in the same report, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go and make sure we have the property sheet set up here. So it says use the property sheet to set the width of the owner column to 2 inches. So let's click on owner, and if we go to the property sheet on the far right side, we can make sure that the width is 2 inches as it's requesting. So go 2 inches, enter. Perfect. Now it's spread out our owner. It's fantastic. Then it says to set the width of zone column to 2 inches. All right, so we're going to go to zone, go to width, and we're going to set it to 2 inches. Press enter. It says change the alignment of the value label to left. So this is your label. Remember, this is your information. This is your label. So we're going to click on this, and it wants it to be set to left. Again, there's a couple places you can go to do it. You can go to format here and choose the left. So it wants the value to be aligned left. See, it was pretty easy for 8 marks. Not too bad at all. Step 6. It says in the assessments report, change the alternate row color of the detail control to orange accent 5 lighter 80%. This is column 9, row 2. As I showed you guys before, when we're needing to adjust the formatting for something specific, you need to really be able to pick out the keywords. In this case, it says the detail control. In order to set the properties for that, what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go to my property sheet, and right now it says label 3, but it doesn't help me. I need to go in here and I need to get to this detail where it says detail. That will ensure that the information that I'm looking for, that I want to modify, is accurately selected. So I go there, I choose detail. When I do that, it's going to allow me to, in the format dialog box, it's going to allow me to change the alternate row color. I'm going to click on this, and it says to change it to orange accent 5, lighter 80%. So basically, I want to go to column 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I want to go down to the second one. And when I hover over it, you'll notice orange, accent 5, lighter 80%. I'm going to click it. What happens now, every alternate row is going to have that color applied to it. Step 7, it says in the same report, create a custom text filter where the zone field contains the word residential, and then save and close the report. So we have to be super careful in the report that we have the correct field selected, and then we got to do the right filter, because there's so many different filters. You got to make sure you use the right one. So basically we are looking for the zone field. So let's click in here, zone, and then what we want to do is we want to go to the home tab. There's a home tab here to the left, and then you'll notice that there are many sort and filters. So there's a regular filter, there's sort and filter by selection, and then advanced. You need to make sure that you notice it says that it wants a custom text filter that contains. So let's take a look. Under advanced, is there one that we can use? Advanced filter and fort, perhaps. Or we can right click on zone and we can go to text filters that says contains right there. So if we right click on zone, text filters, contains, and then we type in the word that it wants us to. So it's residential. And the reason why we're choosing contains, because it could be at the beginning of the word or at the end, or sorry, at the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence, whatever that field, it could be located anywhere. So it's very important that we use the contains. And you'll notice see how it says custom filter. So we're on the right track. Click OK. At this point, your data is going to be filtered. Only things that say residential, whether it's in the left or the right, will be shown. At this point, we go save, and we then go and we close the report. Very important. So we're going to close it. Perfect. Now, step 8. This is my favorite one. It's worth 12 marks, and it's super easy, and it's a lot of fun. Basically, for those that have centimeters as their units on their computer, they're going to have a little bit of trouble with this. But overall, we're pretty good shape because I've already changed the settings so that my computer is now inches, which is different than it was in the last video. Nevertheless, let's go and do number 8. It says use the label wizard to create a labels report based on the parcels table. Remember from chapter 3 that based on, this is going to play a role. Based on the parcels table, select the Avery C2160 as the label type, and then add the following fields to create a prototype label in the following format. Let's do that now. We're going to go create, but before we do it, based on the parcels table. So I'll make sure I have that selected. Then create, then I'm going to go to labels right here in the middle of my screen here. You'll see it at the top. If you have trouble, again, I'm bringing it back to the whole centimeters issue. If you run into an issue, you will not see C2160 right off the bat if you're using centimeters, because it's going to be set to metric. Your job is to move it to English, and that should show at the top. Worst case scenario, you could always search for the label. It's not a big deal, but I wanted to make sure that you know at home if you are running or watching this video at home and you run into trouble. So make sure it's English, C2160, click next. And then we keep going to this part here where we have to add our fields. Notice it says prototype label. It's pretty neat. So the first field it wants is owner. Double click. Make sure you go down one. You don't put the words next to it. Follow the instructions on the paper and you'll notice that it says the next row down should be street. Below that, we're going to do a little bit of a hybrid here. We're going to actually type in Aspen Falls, comma, CA for California, because this is American, and then space. You need the space. It might not be apparent on the sheet, but there's a space. Then you double click zip. And that's how it's going to look, identical to what it shows us in the instructions. For most labels, what you'll do is you'll just use the city field as this information here and state information here as well. But this is a hybrid label because I guess they're assuming that all their owners and clients are going to be in Aspen Falls. So it's pretty generic. Once you're done that, it says click and accept all other defaults. So I go next, next, finish. Perfect. And that's our label report. It says then close it. If you'll notice that it will generate you the actual report. It'll give it a name and all that jazz. So you can actually just close it because you'll notice on the left hand side we have labels from the parcels. Perfect. And just close it. Good. Step 9. Step 9 says modify the zone values query so that the second value column computes an average for each group. Save and then close the query. Step 9. So we need to modify the query. There's only one query in this database. It's right here. So to modify it, we should right click on it and go into design view. Once we're in design view, we can do the modification that it's asking for. Read carefully. It says the second value column. A lot of students, they get excited. They just read through things and they're not paying attention. They think second, oh, this is the second column, this is value. No, that's the second column, but it wants us to deal with this column here, the second value column. And it says, make sure it computes an average for each group and then save and close the query. All right, so let's take a look. So right now, this one is group by, this is count. They want us not to have this set to first, but to average. Excellent. So that's that. It says save and close the query. So I'm going to click save and then close it. It seems too good to be true for 8 marks, but the reality is that's exactly what it's asking us to do. And if you're not comfortable and you're not sure, then just double click the query and make sure it's doing what it needs to do, which it does. Look at that. Beautiful. Make sure to close it again though. Step 10. It says use the report tool to create a report based on the zone values query. So basically we're going to create a report now that's going to be generated from that query we just modified. So let's do that. Make sure your zone values query is selected in case you've gone and come back. This has got to be selected. Then we go to create. And it didn't say blank report. It didn't say that at all. Look carefully. It says the report tool, which is located right here. I'm going to click on it. Boom. Looks awesome. It says save the report with the name average zone values. This is worth 10 marks. I'm going to go save. And it says average zone values. So I'm going to go over to the front here. Average zone values. I'm going to make sure everything's spelled perfectly. I'm going to click OK. Inside of this report, what we need to do now is we need to actually insert a logo, just like we've done before. It's super easy. Go and click on this little book here. Go to your logo button under the design tab. And then we're going to go to find the file wherever we saved it. And I know I saved it in my Access videos under Access 4. And there it is, the City Hall. Perfect. So there's my logo. It's looking fantastic. part of this step says to center and bold the 3 column labels. Well, these are our labels. 1, 2, 3. We need to go to format, we need to center it, and we need to bold it. Perfect. So that is step 10. Quite straightforward. That was 10 marks. Step 11, it says in the average zone values report, oh, sorry, we did this logo already. My apologies. That is step 11. Okay, so step 12. This is where we're at. In the average zone values report, change the text of average of value label control to average value. So right now, what this shows here doesn't make a lot of sense. So what they need us to do is they need us to modify this to say average of value label control, or sorry, average value. So let's do that. Average value. Just double click it and rename it. Perfect. 6 marks. Our last step here, this is step 13. It says in the average zones values report, add a control that calculates the average values columns. Okay. And then you want to find the average for that. Format the calculated control as currency and then auto size its height. Save and close the report. Basically what they're asking us to do is to generate at the bottom here an average of these values here. So in order to do that, all you do is just click one of them. So if it's not selected, just click any one of these. Then if you go to Home tab, you should have, let's see here. Actually, you don't have to go to Home tab. Let's go right click and see if we have an option for it. Okay, so there's not one there. Let's go here. I'm going to go to design, not there. You're going to click here and there it is. Okay, so that whole long runaround, there's limitations to how we can generate the average. So basically, once we've clicked here, click on the design tab, and then you'll notice our totals is available for us. When we click here, we can click on average, just like in Excel. When you do that, you'll notice that it generates the average down below. What we need to do is we need to format this as a currency. So I'm going to click down here, so the actual average, and I'm going to go over to my format on the property sheet to the right, and I'm going to go to currency. Perfect. Now the last step that it's asking us to do is to actually auto size the height. So we're going to go over here and we're going to double click and perfect. It is now perfectly sized. The format looks fantastic. This is great. Now what we need to do is save and close the report, and then we are done chapter 4. Everything you've seen here will be seen in the other 2 practice tests for chapter 4, and you will notice that most of the stuff will be on your test, your final test. So let's save and close it. Save and close. And then we can close the database, and we should feel pretty confident that we have completed everything we needed to complete this semester for Microsoft Access and everything that we needed to in the first half of the semester for Microsoft Excel. Thanks for watching, and as usual, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact me. Take care.